All right, let's dive into this Neville Goddard material. Looks like we've got some interesting stuff here.
Yeah, definitely.
So who was this guy? I know he was a 20th century teacher or something?
Yeah, kind of a spiritual teacher, really emphasized the power of imagination.
Okay.
Not just like, daydreaming, but really using your mind to shape your reality.
So, like, thinking things into existence.
But-
I'm skeptical, but go on.
Well, he's got this story about a trip to Barbados. It kind of perfectly shows what he's all about.
All right, I'm listening.
So picture this. 1933, Great Depression. Neville's in New York City. And he gets this like overwhelming urge to visit his family in Barbados.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, hasn't even thought about Barbados in years.
Okay, interesting.
But here's the kicker. He goes to his mentor, Abdullah, to talk about it. And Abdullah just tells him, straight up, you are already in Barbados.
Wait, what?
How can you be in Barbados if you're in New York?
Exactly.
Well, that's where this subjective reality thing comes in.
Subjective reality.
Yeah, it's like, the world you create in your mind, it's just as real, maybe even more real than the physical world.
Okay, I think I'm following. So by believing he was already there, Neville was somehow making it true.
That's the idea. It's about like fully believing in something, feeling it as if it's already real.
So he wasn't just wishing to be in Barbados.
Right. He started living it in his mind, visualizing himself there
Yeah.
with his family, feeling that tropical air.
So daydreaming his way to Barbados.
Well, it's more active than that. He called it subjective appropriation, basically claiming that feeling.
Yeah.
Like it's already yours.
Not just hoping for it.
No, knowing it.
All right. Interesting concept, but did anything actually happen as a result of all this?
Oh, yeah. Out of the blue, Neville gets a letter from his brother in Barbados,
No way.
offering to pay for his entire trip.
Really?
He even mentions how the whole family's never been together for Christmas.
Wow, that's wild. But, I mean, couldn't that just be a coincidence?
Could be. But the timing's pretty interesting. And there's more. When Neville goes to book his passage, only third-class tickets are available.
Ooh. Did he give up then?
Nope. He takes a third-class ticket. But he keeps sleeping in that feeling
Yeah.
of being in Barbados. First class all the way.
Interesting.
And guess what? A first-class cabin opens up. Last minute.
No kidding. So the takeaway here is just ignore any obstacles and focus on the feeling.
It's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Neville didn't try to force a first-class ticket. He trusted that once he had that feeling, the universe would work out the details.
So unwavering faith.
Exactly. Even when things don't seem to be going your way.
Don't get caught up in the how.
Right. Just trust the process.
Okay, I like that. So Neville makes it to Barbados. What happens next?
Well, he comes back to New York, a
Ah.
changed man.
Mhm.
He even said he died during the trip.
Died.
Well, not literally.
I hope not.
More like a metaphorical death.
Okay.
He's talking about his old identity, an old way of being.
Like shedding a skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
When he got back, he embraced all these things he had rejected before, like eating meat, drinking alcohol.
After years of abstaining. So
Yeah.
it was about letting go of that old self.
Right. Goddard believed we're constantly evolving, shifting between different states of consciousness.
And our imagination helps us navigate those states.
Exactly.
So we can change our external reality just by changing our thoughts.
That's the core of it.
Wow.
You know, in one of his lectures, Goddard said, faith is the subjective appropriation of the objective hope.
I love that. Can you unpack that a bit for our listeners? What does that even mean?
Sure. Real faith isn't blind belief. It's about feeling the reality of what you want, right now, in this moment, as if it's already true.
Closing that gap between the inner world and the outer world.
Yeah, just like Neville. He felt himself in Barbados, and then the events leading to the trip unfolded naturally.
So he didn't try to control every little step.
Right. He set the intention
Hmm.
and trusted the process. But it's not always easy. Goddard talks about two things that hold people back. Two sins, as he calls them.
Two sins. All right, now you've got my attention. What are they?
The first one is lack of faith in I am he.
I am he.
It's about recognizing the power within us, our own creative power,
Okay.
like God or a higher power.
But not in a religious sense?
Not necessarily. It's
Yeah.
more about recognizing the creative force within each of us.
So doubting ourselves is the first sin. What's the second?
Dwelling on good and evil, constantly judging things, instead of accepting them as part of a larger process.
So if we judge ourselves and our experiences, we're blocking our creative flow.
Exactly.
And this connects back to the I am idea.
Yeah. Goddard believed those two words are incredibly powerful because they represent who we truly are.
So every time we say I am, we're affirming our power to shape reality.
Yes. And it's important to be mindful of what we say after those words.
Right.
Are we affirming our limitations or our potential?
Deep stuff. So Neville Goddard believed we're not victims of circumstance. We're creators of our own reality. Exactly how do we actually put this into practice?
That's a great question. And that's what we'll explore next.
This is already blowing my mind. I can't wait to dive deeper into the practical stuff. In our next segment,
Me too.
so we can manifest a trip to Barbados. What about other things? Like, can we apply this to anything?
That's the thing. Goddard believed these principles were universal,
Okay.
not just exotic trips. Anything you want to experience.
Like what?
Financial abundance, a fulfilling relationship,
Okay, sure.
even finding a parking spot.
Finding a parking spot.
Seriously. Think about it. When you're driving around looking for parking, what's your mindset?
Stressed, usually.
Exactly. But what if you shifted that?
How?
Imagine feeling confident, knowing that a perfect spot is waiting for you.
Okay, that'd be nice.
Right. It changes the whole energy.
But what if there are literally no spots?
That's where the unwavering faith comes in.
Okay.
Trusting the process, even when things don't look so good.
So I should just drive around feeling like I already have the spot.
Exactly. You might be surprised how often it works.
I'll have to try that. But going back to Neville for a second, that whole died during the trip thing, can you explain that a little more?
Sure. It's about letting go of old patterns, beliefs, limitations, things that no longer serve us.
Okay.
As we evolve, we shed those old versions of ourselves.
So we're constantly dying and being reborn.
I like that.
And our imagination is the key.
It allows us to see new possibilities.
And step into them.
Exactly.
That's powerful. But how do we actually do that? How do we use our imagination practically?
Well, Goddard had a few techniques. One of the most famous was the state akin to sleep.
Okay, what's that?
That drowsy state between wakefulness and sleep.
Like when you're drifting off?
Exactly. Your conscious mind is relaxed. Subconscious is more receptive.
I see.
He believed that state was key to impressing our desires on our subconscious.
So how do we use it?
When you're in that drowsy state, imagine yourself already living the reality you want. Feel the emotions. Engage your senses. As if it's already happening.
So if I wanted a new job,
You would imagine yourself working in that job. Feel the excitement, the satisfaction.
I already have it.
Exactly. The more vivid you make it, the better.
What if I get distracted?
Just gently bring your attention back. It's the feeling that's important.
Got it. What about those two sins? The not dwelling on good and evil thing.
Right. It's about recognizing that everything is part of a process.
Even the bad stuff.
Even the stuff we might label as negative, it can all serve our growth.
So instead of judging those experiences,
We should try to see them as opportunities.
to learn and grow.
Exactly.
A shift in perspective.
Seeing everything as unfolding perfectly.
Even when it doesn't seem like it.
Right. Trusting the process.
Okay, I get it. But what about free will? If we can manifest our desires just by changing our thoughts, what about everyone else?
That's a great question. Goddard's teachings don't negate free will.
Okay.
He believed everyone is creating their reality all the time.
Whether they know it or not.
Right.
So we're all playing our own individual games, but connected on a deeper level,
Exactly.
our realities intersect. But we're each responsible for our own experience.
Right. So manifesting isn't about controlling others. It's about aligning yourself with your own highest good.
And attracting things that are in harmony with that.
Precisely.
This is giving me a lot to think about. We've only just scratched the surface here.
I know, right?
But I'm already feeling inspired.
Me too. I hope our listeners are feeling it too.
You know, I keep thinking about the subjective appropriation thing. It's like we don't chase after our desires. We kind of have to shift our mindset to already having them.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed, right?
Yeah.
You don't chase the flower, you plant the seed. And trust the process.
So it's not just wishing or hoping. It's about actually feeling the reality of what we want.
Exactly. That feeling is what connects our inner world to our outer experience.
But what if, like, my current situation is totally different from what I want? Do I still have to feel like I already have it?
That's the tricky part. But that's also where the magic happens.
Okay.
It's easy to believe when things are going well, but the real test is when things are tough.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like trusting your GPS.
Yeah.
Even if there are detours along the way.
Exactly. Trusting the process.
Yeah.
Even when you don't know exactly how it's going to work out.
Okay, I like that analogy. But full disclosure, I'm a pretty impatient person. If I don't see results quickly,
Yeah,
I tend to, Lose faith.
I get it. A lot of people struggle with that. But remember, this isn't about instant gratification.
Okay.
It's about aligning yourself with the natural rhythms of creation.
Like, it takes time for a seed to grow.
Right. Your desires might unfold gradually, too.
So patience is key.
Patience and persistence.
Right. Like in the Barbados story. Neville didn't just visualize it once.
He kept sleeping in that feeling.
Night after night.
Until it became his reality.
It's like building a muscle.
Exactly. The more you use your imagination this way, the stronger it gets.
So we have to make it a daily practice.
It's like meditation or exercise. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
This has been so insightful. We've covered so much.
I know, it's amazing how much depth there is to this stuff.
But I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Yes, there's always more to explore.
Before we wrap up, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Let me think. Okay, this is what I'd ask. What's your Barbados?
What do you mean?
What's that one desire that's burning within you?
Oh, I see.
And what would it feel like to already be living that reality?
That's a great question. So to our listeners, as you drift off to sleep tonight, imagine yourself living your dream life. Feel the joy, the gratitude.
And trust that the universe is working behind the scenes.
To bring it to you.
Sweet dreams.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep questioning.